everyone, and welcome back to our homeroom. I'm so excited because I have my friend and colleague here, Tammy Bishop. And hi, Tammy.
Hey, Kristen.
And we are here today because I want to hear all about Tammy and what she's doing. I'll introduce you a little bit about her today. She is such an amazing person. She's so creative and doing so many cool things. And I really wanted to get her on today so that you could hear some of those really cool things that she's doing. It's a great resource for parents, and I want to make sure you have all the best resources in the area. So, Tammy is an occupational therapist who specializes in teaching all ages and abilities how to pedal a bicycle without training wheels. And that
Mhm.
might seem simple, but I know you remember how hard that actually is. She began her OT career working with babies and toddlers in early intervention. She then moved into working with children over three in a variety of settings, including clinic, public, private schools, kids' homes. So she's done a little bit of everything.
Mhm.
She now works in her favorite setting, which is the beautiful outdoors. And she teaches children and adults, which she's
Mhm.
going to talk about a little bit later, how to ride a bike. And it's a skill that, of course, obviously lasts forever. I remember the first time we met, she was even speaking about an older lady that had never learned how to ride a bike and how she had an opportunity to teach her. So it's just a really cool thing. Um, so she's going to go into a little bit of her background, and we're going to talk because the most exciting thing is she has just released a book that you are actually
Mhm.
able to purchase, where she has taken her method that she does with children and with adults, broken it into, oh my gosh, like the perfect step by step. And so you guys can actually purchase that and try to do it at home. So she's going to talk a little bit about that today. So again, hi, Tammy. So good to
Hi,
have you on
Kristen.
here
Hi,
today.
everybody. Yeah, I'm
Um,
super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So fill everybody in from your perspective a little bit more about what made you go from OT into bike riding. Like, why did you see an opportunity there? And what is it, all of the things, your background that led you into this, and why you love it.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So it's interesting because I still get phone calls from families asking, so do you do OT bicycle lessons, both? And really what it is I'm still doing OT, but only through bicycle lessons. However, I don't
Oh.
advertise my bicycle lessons as occupational therapy. So most of the families who receive my bicycle lessons for their children have no idea that I'm an occupational therapist. It came about when I was working with some of my autistic clients back
Mm,
in the early, well, kind of early 2010s. I was teaching them because I felt like it was a skill they had to have. Just
mm-hmm.
because as an occupational therapist, we always try to help our clients, students, patients with life skills, their occupations. And so for me, it felt like a no-brainer that my children that I'm working with should know how to ride a bicycle. And it also gave families an opportunity to do something with their child that felt typical, because often these families don't have typical lives. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what really got me into it. And I didn't even think of it as like this super cool thing. It was a skill we were working on along with teeth brushing, dressing, other
Right.
play skills, things like that. So
Right. Just like a
um,
necessary life skill that we
exactly.
all
So
need
I
to
didn't,
know.
yeah, so I didn't put a lot of thought into it. My background being an OT, we're taught how to do activity analysis, which is taking an activity and breaking it down into smaller steps.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just came up with a kind of a quick list of steps that I was going to work through with all of my clients. And then in 2018, it was one of those moments. I have to thank the Lord for it, because it just popped into my head, and it was like I had this thought that perhaps my system might work for other people, for children and adults. So I
Mm-hmm.
put it out there on Facebook and said, "Hey, I've got this system that I use with my clients. I'm curious if it will work with other people." And I got a few phone calls here and there, and it didn't pick up much traction. I wasn't looking for much traction because I had another, I was doing my occupational therapy. So this was definitely going to be a side project. And through the years, word of mouth and, being in the community and folks starting to find out about what I was doing, it started to pick up steam. And then in 2024, I decided to do it full time. And so now in 2025, I get to focus on it 100%. And so
Hmm.
that's how I got into it. And I love it. It's so much fun.
Yeah, that's so cool. So I just love that, I think that when we think of something like bike riding, so many times with so many things we do as parents, it's just something you do.
Right.
Like we're just, oh yeah, my kid needs to learn to ride a bike. But just like all those other things you list, they're not necessarily deliberately taught. And that's one of the things I love about you writing this book and having this for parents because as a classroom teacher, I also did the same thing as you did. I would take everyday just activities like as simple as we're going to go to lunch. We're going to walk to lunch. And it was like, okay, first you have to stand up and push in your chair.
Hmm.
Then everybody is by table going to line up, and then we're going to walk in the hallway. Then we're going to stop and we're going to wait for them to tell us. And it's like you have to take everything and break it down, and you get into that mindset of doing that. So similar to occupational therapy, like you're thinking of every task,
Hmm.
whether it's a normal household task or a school task or
Hmm.
a skill task, and breaking it down and making it easier. And I think that so much, if parents could look at all the things they're doing with their child like that, it
Hmm.
makes it so much easier because
Yeah.
just the deliberateness of like, we are going to learn how to vacuum today.
Mhm.
We are going to learn how to clean a room today. And because you just go into it with a different idea instead of like, come on, we just need to clean up the room. We just need to get it done. It's like, okay, what's the best way to do this in a way that is going
Yeah.
to work for everybody? And we're going to learn it. We're going to remember it. We're going to do it without fighting, So I know it seems like, well, why would I need a book to help me, teach my kids how to ride a bike? Because it breaks it down and it gives it just a whole different perspective.
Mhm. Yep, yep,
So
sure
I
does. Yeah, I
love
remember
that.
I remember being very young. I think it was 1st grade, 2nd grade when we started getting homework, and, I asked my dad, I was like, "Dad, I don't understand this," and he said, "Go to your room and do your homework," and I remember sitting at my desk going, "I don't know how to do homework. What do I do?" And just
Yes.
sobbing, like, I just couldn't figure it out, because most people would think it's just intuitive, so you read, you put your
Yes.
your hand out or whatever it was. I was stumped. I had no idea what to do, and it's so having that young
Yes.
experience, I realized there are kids and adults who are told to do something, but they don't know how to break it
Don't.
down, where to start. So, and that's the goal of my
Yes.
book is really to help
Yes.
parents who think, I'm just going to put my child on a bike, push them,
Hmm.
and then let go. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not
Yeah.
how it works. Not for
No.
most kids.
No. And like you were saying about even doing homework, so many times with as adults, we forget what it was like to not
Mhm.
know how to do something simple like homework.
Right.
Oh, they should just know how to figure it out. But then same with you as an OT and also me as a
Mhm.
teacher, we realize like I have
Yeah.
to go all the way back to the beginning and teach the basics. So it's like just remembering and honoring that our children, as much as something might seem like it should be intuitive to us as parents, it many times is not. So yeah, even as something that as simple as homework. And then what happens is when we're like, well, just go do it. Fear.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so when we have that fear, that's going to make everything worse
Yeah.
because now
Absolutely.
I can't concentrate on the homework. You flipped your lid. So now you've
Mhm.
got all the emotions and things going on.
Mhm.
On top of that, you have a parent that's not sympathetic to it, not helping. So you have no comfort at any way.
Sure.
So yeah, being able to give him this step by step takes all that fear away too. And that's the other
Mhm.
part I love about it is there's so much play involved. You
Mhm.
incorporate games, it makes something fun. And I just think as parents, we do not, I am a teacher. And I still didn't think like this when I thought to teach my son how to ride his bike. And honestly, my son was a late bike rider. He did not, I mean, because it was the same thing. He put it off because he was scared and he put it,
Mhm.
and then because he was scared, I was scared. And I was like, I know I'm not going to do this very well. I'm going to get
Mhm.
irritated or frustrated because I don't know how to handle it when he falls. So even as a teacher, I didn't even know how to, I didn't even think about breaking it down and using games and like
Right.
the tools you have, like using the little cones and like making sure even that the bike is correct.
Right.
Sometimes we don't even know the bike is the wrong size for. for our
Right.
kids. So I love that you have a little note in there about that too.
Mhm.
And even things like like letting the kids help set up,
Mhm.
and I found that in the classroom when the kids are involved with stuff, like they're much more willing to do it. It adds like you say in the book, it adds a level of control, which
Mhm.
makes that fear go away also. So it's
Right.
just there's so much embedded in your book that's taking the fear away for the child. And then honestly, because it takes away the fear for the child, then I know for me, I would feel less fearful. I'd be like, oh, now I know how to clearly do this. So yeah, I think the book is just it's just so great. When it comes to these steps, can you give me a brief rundown of what they are? What
Sure.
are those the basic steps?
Yep. So the basic steps. So first, I take off the training wheels and pedals, and I lower the seat all the way to the point where the child's feet are flat on the ground and their knees are a little
Mm,
bit bent. Oftentimes, parents buy a bike that their child's going to grow into, and it's not a great bike for a great not it's not a great size bike for learning. Maybe when they're
mm-hmm,
pedaling, it'll be okay, but for learning, those children's bodies need to feel safe and secure and have a good foundation for being able to balance. So feet flat on the ground, a little bit of knee bend, and then what we do is we walk the bike. And
mm-hmm.
so it's amazing that you would think that doesn't sound all that complicated or fear
Right.
inducing, but it is, because what happens is those kids are like, whoa, this bike doesn't stand up by itself because they're used to training wheels. Training wheels
Yeah.
help the bike stay up.
Yeah,
So
right.
now the kids have to learn, oh, I'm keeping the bike up. My feet are keeping me and the bike safe. And so what we do is
Mm-hmm.
we walk the bike, we play games. And so as the child's body starts to feel that kind of swaying back and forth as they're taking steps, I encourage them to pick up their feet a few times. 1 second turns into a couple seconds, and then we start working on distance. Oh, look, your high score now is 3 feet. The bike rolled and your feet were up. Once those muscles kick in on the side of their bodies, um, then I know we can start adding a pedal. And what I do is I put one pedal on. Most kids have done a scooter, and so I tell them I
Mm.
turn their bike into a scooter bike. And what
Oh,
they
that's
do
great
is they
idea. Yes.
practice one foot on the pedal with the other foot pushing. So one foot's on the pedal, the other foot is pushing the bike. And then
Mm-hmm.
once I see that they can lift this foot that's pushing, hold
Mm-hmm.
it up, and the bike keeps rolling and they can use those lateral muscles to keep balance, then the second pedal comes on. So it's all about that balance piece, right? And so
Yeah.
I can't go from the body's lateral muscles working without pedals to putting two pedals on. Now,
Mm.
probably I could, but it one freaks out the kids because now we're going from like something that felt really safe to like, oh, the pedals are on, I'm gonna fall. Do you know what I mean? And so with the
Mm-hmm.
one pedal, it's like bumping it up. What we call in
Mm-hmm.
occupational therapy is the just right challenge, where you're
Ooh.
challenging the child, but you're not pushing
Mm-hmm.
them to the point where they freak out, right? Or get so scared
Mm-hmm.
that they can't do anything, because I know they have the balance for the pedals. It's just I have to transition them from being super afraid of pedals because they may have had experience where they were pushed and told to pedal, but they didn't have balance and they fell. Um, so yeah, so that's how those steps work.
Is there
Mhm.
kind of a general average of how long it takes?
Yes, it's about 3 lessons, and each lesson's 30 minutes, so about an hour and a half. I've
Wow, that's crazy. That's all it takes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And here's the thing too is I've learned from doing the lessons because before I would allow the or encourage the family to pick how long of a lesson they wanted. And what I was
Mm,
discovering is at about 30 minutes, kids are petered out, even
yeah.
adults. So when a family is coming from far away and they want to do an hour lesson, I'm like, ooh, like, yeah, we'll do it. Like I'll hold that time in the
Yeah.
schedule for you. I'll mention, I'll say, but most kids, they get sore on their
Mhm.
bottom from sitting on the seat. And two, they're just fatigued because
Yes.
they're using so many muscles that they're not
Mhm.
normally using. So, but
Yeah, and I think not only is it just like fatigue, like physical fatigue, but also when you're learning something new, there's a lot of nerves involved. You're nervous, you're worked up.
yes,
So you also have to deal with that. Like you can only do that for so long before you're like, okay, I need to
yes,
I need
yes,
to take a break. Um,
absolutely. Yep.
yeah, I think that's so great. What have you found is the most fun part?
Yes.
What else about this do you feel like is so impactful?
So for me, The most impactful part is when their lateral muscles, so their trunk or core, the side muscles, when I see them kicking in to help the child balance, because in the beginning,
Mm.
the child's not, the body can't, it hasn't figured out how to use these muscles. And so the feet are used for balancing, right? So if the bike starts
Mhm.
to lean, they'll put that foot down. If the bike starts to lean this way, they put that foot down. What I try to get their body to do is use the muscles to balance while the feet are up. So when I see those muscles
Mm.
kick in, I'm like, "Ah, we've got it." Because
Interesting.
that's the I mean, we can't make progress if those muscles don't work. Do you know what I mean? And it can take
Yeah.
some kids 10 minutes, it can take other kids 2 lessons, 3 lessons,
Yeah.
even more if they have special needs. So when I
Yeah.
see those muscles kick in, I'm so happy because then
That's
I
like the turning
know
point.
it's a turning point, exactly, and so the parents don't I point it out to all the parents. I even tell the kids with the parents, "Okay, we are looking for these muscles to start helping you, and right now they're not helping you. So we're gonna do some
Mhm.
games and try to get those muscles,
Mhm.
activated."
Mhm.
So there, I intentionally involve the kids in the conversations I have with
Mm.
parents when it comes to
Mhm.
talking about their body, because a lot of
Mhm.
kids, I think, feel when we find something that we're working on that it's deficiency, it's their deficiency, they're not doing something right. Do you know what I mean? And
Oh,
that
yeah.
I tell them, I'm like, it's not you, it's your body. Like your body just needs a little extra practice, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
we're gonna keep working with your body until it gets it. So that's my favorite part. I think for the parents, obviously, it's when they see their child pedaling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy too. But really, like you asked, the most impactful is when those muscles kick in, because then I know
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, I just think having those steps broken down for parents is so, so
And
exciting.
patience.
Yes.
That's the other thing too. I just want to recommend to parents that when if they purchase this book, or in
Mhm.
anything they do with their child, that the child's learning for the first time, is patience.
Yes.
Because what I've noticed with these bicycle lessons is sometimes the parents, will say to the child, like they'll give a directive, do this. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, the child's body's not quite ready. So you're making the
Mm.
child feel badly because they can't
Yes.
do it. Right. And
Yes.
so I try to let the parents know, and with the child present, like, this is the next step, but your body's not ready for it. I'll let you guys know, like when I see it, the balance piece coming in or the coordination piece coming in. And it's just to let the families know that sometimes our pushing can kind of keep the kids from making progress, because then it
Mhm.
puts pressure on.
Mhm.
So just yeah, and I have to tell myself sometimes patience, because when I have a student who's taking longer than
Yeah, right.
lessons, I'm like, oh, I want them to ride a bike. I want to see those muscles working. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'll push them, and it's terrible. It's a terrible feeling when I do it, and I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Because
Mhm.
sometimes it makes us
Yeah,
regress a little
back
bit.
yes.
So it's
Yes.
like take a
So,
deep breath.
you're
We're
right.
we're gonna get
Go
there. It
go through
doesn't
the
we don't
steps. The steps work.
yes,
You've done it a million times, and that's what's great about the book too, is I
yes,
know these steps work. They're gonna work. You just gotta kind of be patient and go through each of them, and
yes.
they'll get there.
So even though I
Um,
tell parents, "Be patient," I still have to remind
yes.
myself,
Yeah.
"Let me be
It's
patient."
hard. It's
It
hard.
is
It's
hard,
very
it is
hard.
hard, but we all can work as a team and help each other,
Yes. Yes.
remind each other, "Be patient." So
Yes, exactly. So, one more thing I want to touch on too that I love so much about the book that you may not have thought about, but I was thinking about because it lines up so much with my own work that I'm doing is, so many times parents will see misbehavior, they would call it, when they go to teach their children how to ride a bike or to do anything, right?
mhm,
And what I have found is that all misbehavior always lines up to some kind of missing need. But if we meet our children's needs, and this isn't just with children, this is for all of us, when we misbehave as adults, it's because we have a need that's not being met. Um, but I think that what's so great about your method is that it meets so many children's needs. And you've already touched on them throughout. Like every time you'll say something, I'm like, yep, that's that need. Yep. So
mhm,
I want to point those out for parents too, because I think when we use this book, because it's going to meet our children's needs, then you're not going to see the misbehavior. You're not going to see like the whining that I saw from my son, or the giving up, or the fight. I mean, you might see some things, but you're not going to see it directed at you.
Right.
One of those big things was getting on the same team.
Hmm.
Like, when that's my first thing I teach parents all the time is anything you're wanting to do with your child, any goal you have, if it's to clean up the room, if it's to, you want them to do homework, if it's you want them to have better grades in school, you always have to get on the same team. It is you and your child versus the problem, not you versus your child. So I
Hmm.
love
Yep.
that, like, it's like, hey, we're going to do this bike riding thing together. So it
Hmm.
it already has like you're on the same team. So that's going to meet some needs right there, because our
Hmm.
biggest need that trumps all other needs is connection and belonging. So
Hmm.
if we have our parents there with us, and also, I even found so I'll just go right into then the attention that comes with that. So not only do they have the connection and the belonging, the acceptance, hey, we're on the same team, we're going to figure this out together, but you're doing a task with them one on one.
Hmm.
And as a teacher, I remember going into a parent conference and asking the students, well, what do you want me to tell your parents that you want for a reward if you do a good job in school? 9 times out of 10, they wanted just time with their time. It would be like, oh, I want to go on a bike ride. Oh, I want ice cream. I'm going to go get ice cream I want to watch my favorite show with that's it. They don't need anything fancy. They just want time. So just you setting aside that 30 minutes a week or whatever it is to give your child one-on-one attention, like that's going to meet so many of those needs right there. Then
Hmm.
there's games involved. So you're meeting their need of play. You
Hmm.
know, they're
Yeah.
getting a chance to have fun. So that's in there. The way it's broken into steps when we have fear about something. So, one of our major needs is encouragement. Like when we're overwhelmed by something that seems too big for us, like cleaning the house, for instance, I think, oh God, the whole house is a mess. And then it's so easy to shut down and just give up and do nothing. And it's like, no, we're just going to do the kitchen today. So, the way you have the structure broken into just today, this is all we're doing today. We're
Yeah.
not worrying about pedaling today. We're just worrying about sitting on this bike. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, I can sit on a bike. Like I can envision
Yeah.
myself sitting. I can envision myself cleaning the house, cleaning the kitchen. Like cleaning the kitchen, that seems doable.
Yeah.
So it breaks it down for those kids so that totally meets that need of encouragement. It gives them those baby steps they need to succeed. And
Yeah.
then the biggest one of all is giving our children choice and control and power. Not
Hmm.
only does that help with their fear, but I think kids want to do stuff on their own.
Hmm.
Do you find that too, that they're so excited to do, like, put the cones down and set up
Absolutely.
yeah, I
Yeah.
bet, because kids just want that, it makes them feel capable. So
Hmm.
you're also adding that in there. It's like, oh, I can put cones around on a circle. I surely can ride around it. I don't know.
Sure.
It's just
Yeah.
like, so I think that it's just so important that we go into these tasks thinking about that. We
Hmm.
tend to just like on the fly, and because we haven't been taught to break those tasks down.
Right.
So even I think what's great about the book, we can use it as a jumping off point for other things. Oh, this is how you break down how to ride a bike. Okay, could I take that same mindset and go to like teaching my son how to make their bed, clean their room, cook something for dinner, take out the garbage, all these basic things. Stop for a second and be deliberate about, well, what's the first thing that they need to know, about cleaning a room? What's the second thing they need to know? What's the third, and kind of
Yeah.
breaking it down. So, and I love it. And the book is full of pictures that's easy to
Mhm.
see. I mean, everything about it. It's just so simple. It's small. It's not overwhelming. It's not, bogged down with a whole bunch of like, fancy terminology that I'm not going to understand. It goes right into the task, because I think parents need that too.
Yeah.
Nobody has time. We don't want to read a 400-page book about how to ride a bike and the theories
Right.
behind riding a bike. Just tell me how to do it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly, exactly. Yeah,
so I
that's how
really
I
appreciate.
operate.
Yeah,
I just wanna get
yeah,
it
it's
done. Let's get it done.
just get it done. Just get to the point. The kids are like that too. They don't want to waste a whole
Yes.
bunch of time with all the extra stuff. They just want to get to the thing. They want to ride the bike.
Right.
Um, okay, so and as much as this book will help parents, I also have seen as a parent and a teacher that sometimes we need an expert to come in. Even as much I taught 4th grade math and my 4th grade son would come home needing help in math and I would sit down to teach him math and he'd argue with me. "No, mom,
Mhm,
that's not how we
mhm.
do it." So sometimes as much as we have all I have the tool, I've got this book, but I might try it and it doesn't work. So how can people reach out to you? Where are you located? How can you help? Even just get your book. Where can they find you and get your information? So tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about
So
that.
I want to add to
Mm,
the teaching by a third party. I
mm,
would say probably 90% of my family say we just need someone else to do this. Like
yes.
what they're either the child's going to learn better from a third party or we don't
Mhm.
have the patience.
Yeah.
We're tired of the yelling and the arguing and we just want someone else to do it. Do you know what I mean? So
Yep. Yeah, and
I
as a
hear
coach,
that.
I find the same thing. I mean, I teach, kids homework strategies that
Mhm,
many times are very similar things, or parents will even tell me, "Can you help my child with this?" But it's just
mhm.
coming through a third party that's the expert is really helpful.
Yes, it
So, yeah.
is. Yes. So in families who need extra help with the book, if they purchase the book and find that maybe their
Mm,
child's stuck on a step, they can reach out to me through my website. I have my contact information on that. My website is Tammy, Tammy dash Bishop, Bishop.com. If they live near Oviedo, Florida, I can do in-person lessons. But I've had one family who drove an hour and 45 minutes just for the lessons because they were so
mhm,
motivated to get him riding. He was an older child, probably 11 at the time. And so they were dedicated. They were like, he's going to learn
mhm,
how to ride a bike if we have to drive
mhm,
almost 2 hours.
mhm.
So it's up to families. Some families who I've spoken with said, well, gosh, you're 45 minutes away. That's too far from us for us.
Yeah.
And I don't judge, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
I don't
Right.
if you don't want to drive 5 minutes for lessons, that's fine
Right.
with me.
Right.
And that's why this book is helpful. So
Yes.
if you don't have
100%.
access to someone to teach your child,
Yeah.
um, this book will guide you on how
Mhm,
I do it and make
mhm.
this task a little more fun for the family.
Yes.
Or the family can find a third party in their area who can use
Mhm.
the book as a guide.
Right.
So, like if the child has a nanny or an older brother or
Mm.
sister or
Mhm.
camp counselor who wants, who can do some extra hours, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because, we're talking about kids learning a little bit easier from a third party. So if the family wants to, try that, get the book, give it to
Right.
an adult the child likes, and will listen to, that can
Yeah.
help. That can work as well.
Okay, that's awesome, and the book is available on Amazon?
It is. Yeah,
Okay.
it
So
sure
I'm
is.
gonna put all those links underneath the podcast too, so they can get to your
Okay.
website and they can get to the link to the book,
Hmm.
so everybody can get to find that easily. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming on today.
Yeah,
This
you're
is
welcome. This
great.
was fun.
I
Thank you. I
love
love
hearing
talking
about it.
about it. I could talk about
Yeah,
it all day
all
long.
day. I
Yes.
know, that's great.
And I was gonna say families can also reach out to me on Facebook.
Oh,
So
okay, great.
and it's under
So
my
I'll put
name,
that
Tammy
I'll
Bishop.
put that link down there too. So I'll get
Okay.
those 3 things from you and we'll link them
Yeah.
below so people can get you directly that way.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. This is great. I think that it's something so simple, but I bet you there's gonna be so many parents that are like, "Oh my gosh, I don't have to do this myself. I can get some help from it." Because it is. It's really a tricky thing that seems like it should be intuitive and it is not for parents. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for your
Yes.
expertise.
You're very welcome.
And it was so great to have you on today. So
Thanks,
thanks,
Chris.
and we'll talk soon, I'm sure.
Sounds good. See you later.